Hey, it must be the start of episode 50 because my dogs are barking like usual. It's always it's like it never stops. But welcome everyone. Welcome to episode 50. 50. I can't believe it. Big 50. We had to force you to come on, but took a little bit of coaxing by. I thought it was like a close friend, but a high school
childhood
brothers.
Friends.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about Kevin, who's over there, who kind of convinced you to sign up, but we're glad you came aboard. So welcome to episode 50. Tonight I'm joined by U.S. Army Sergeant First Class Dan Skunza.
Yes.
I got that right?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm trying to lighten you up. You're so look, we got to get you. We're going to get you moving. So we're going to start off every episode. We got to start off with a quote. Found some interesting ones for you, and we'll talk about where we picked this one up, obviously, as we go along in the podcast. And hopefully my dogs stop barking. But maybe not. They're excited to have you on too. It appears. So the first quote is from the Drill Sergeant Creed. I am a drill sergeant. I will assist each individual in their efforts to become a highly motivated, well-disciplined, physically and mental fit soldier capable of defeating any enemies on today's modern battlefield. I will instill pride in all I train, pride in self, in the Army, and in country. I will insist that each soldier meets and maintains the Army standards of military bearing and courtesy consistent with the highest traditions of the U.S. Army. I will lead by example, never requiring a soldier to attempt any task I would not do myself. But first, last, and always, I'm an American soldier, sworn to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. I am a drill sergeant.
Glad I didn't have to repeat that from memory. It's been a while.
You had to, but that's one thing you did have to remember, right?
We had to memorize that and many other things. Yeah.
That's one of the great things about the military. They always give you something to memorize. So, how much of it could you come up with?
I mean, bits and pieces. We were reading it along. I'm like, yeah, that's familiar. So, yeah, we had to memorize that. I showed up not knowing any of this stuff. And people had actually prepped before the school, had stuff ready to go. And I'd just show up like, didn't know anything. I had dirty rank when I showed up to that school. I think it was from my IOTV. So it was just filthy E6 rank. And I'd glowing spotlight on my chest. And they just shark attacked me immediately because of that. It was a bad first day.
That's sometimes the best way to start. A bad first day can only get better than that. So, like a lot of our guests here, because we're from Ohio, you're originally from the south end of Columbus.
Originally, my dad grew up there. His family's from there. So Lockbourne Road, kind of German Village area. He still has property down there on Parsons Avenue. So we lived there till I was 7. And moved to the west side because the neighborhood was kind of going bad. So I moved up to Norton Road, which is where I met Kevin Ewald and his family. Grew up with them.
And then played a lot of sports?
Played a lot of sports. I played baseball, basketball, and soccer. So year-round sports. Just constantly outside playing with the neighborhood kids. Parents, I don't know how they did it. Drove us around every game, every practice. Just constant running. So...
Yeah, I don't remember that. You said you turn 46 tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Well, happy birthday. Early birthday.
Thank you.
But so you spent some time at a prep high school then, St. Charles, right?
Went to St. Charles for 3 years. Parents insisted we do that. So spent 3 years there. Cared more about sports and hanging out with my friends than I did the academic piece. So eventually just had to switched over to Westland High School.
So tell people don't know about St. Charles. So Catholic school?
St. Charles Catholic College Preparatory School. Started off as a seminary back in the day. So that's where priests went to high school and college. The priests lived there on campus. It's a giant campus now. I just finally checked it out. We moved back a year ago. So I drove through the campus a couple weeks ago, actually, down in Bexley. And it's totally different. Have you been by since? It's new sports fields. The baseball field's turf now. Back then, it was all the sports played on the baseball field. So football, lacrosse, soccer, and as an outfielder, that was horrible because it's just divots everywhere. So yeah, it was a strict school, shirt and tie every day, and just they cared about the academic piece a lot. And it was nice in a way because you were expected to act a certain way. So the going to Westland my senior year, it was more about how you acted. It was all behavioral just because that's what the issue was there. So academics kind of took a second seat, whereas St. Charles, you were just expected to act that way, and everybody seemed to fall in line with it for the most part.
Right. You said it was
So,
important to your parents. So grew up
yeah,
religious family then, or
yeah, my parents are very Catholic, strict Catholic still. Um, but yeah, my mom worked at the school in the cafeteria to help pay for the tuition to, get a discount on the tuition. So she was there every day, drove us to school every day, drove me and Kevin's brother to school. So it was, and then in days where like I'd have practice late or something, I'd take the Coda bus down Broad Street to the west side and drop me off at Doctors West Hospital, and I'd go to a payphone and call her to come pick me up from Broad Street.
so what was it like? Not finishing out there. Was a family a little annoyed with you, or
No, they were kind of, I think we're all done trying to fight it in the struggle. Like I said, I cared about the sports, but half the time I couldn't play because my grades weren't there. So it was kind of for the best. So I switched. Plus, growing up on that side of town, I already had a good connection with a lot of people, working at the swimming pool over the summers. I knew a lot of people from that and from playing sports, the little leagues there. Everybody grew up playing together. So it was an easy transition for the most part.
probably happy for you? No tie, no shirt.
Yeah, that was eye opening. You show up to school and you're like, oh, there's girls there. I don't have to go hunt for girls at the mall or it was
Is
probably
it co-ed now, or is it still all?
No, it's all boys.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So no.
I don't think they'll ever change that. Columbus Academy went co-ed, I think, while I was in high school. They used to be the other prep school, all boys, but they ended up going co-ed.
So you graduated from Westland
96.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what's your next step in life?
I was going to join the Army out of high school. A couple of us had it all set up, ready to go. We were all going to go Ranger and try to go SF eventually. One guy ended up getting a wrestling scholarship, so he backed out. And then I think it was probably the day I was supposed to go to MEPS. I remember the recruiter calling me saying, "You ready to go?" It's like, no, I think I'm going to give college a try, which may have been a mistake because I was not ready for that either. So yeah, I ended up going to Columbus State for a year and partied too much with my Ohio State friends. Ended up not doing that much longer.
So what was the reaction by the recruiter when you told me we were going to show up the maps?
He was surprised because, like I said, we were all going in on this buddy system, and so he's like, "Okay, well, if that's what you want to do, then good luck to you." That was the end of it.
Probably see you down the road now.
The one buddy that actually stuck with it, he went Ranger, did his 4 years, got out, went in the Guard for like a year or two, and then went back in, and he's been down in first group for 15 years now, maybe. He's still living down there in Fayetteville.
Good old Vietnam.
Yeah.
Good place. So you decided to go to Columbus State, like you said, partied
A lot.
Yeah. And didn't work out for you?
Nope.
What was the next step after that?
I didn't know. Just had to find a job. My dad, he was paying for school. So after that first time didn't work out, he refused to back me on it ever again. So I had to figure it out for myself. So I spent a few years working. I sold Kirby's door to door.
Yeah, I saw that. Like you might have you didn't get my wife, but we have a Kirby.
Do you?
The thing has been around for like, I don't even know how many years, but yeah, I still remember the day my wife bought that Kirby. I was like, what in the hell? I mean, like, I don't know how you had to be good to sell a Kirby, I guess, but it was the price. It's still around.
I don't know how they do it. Yeah, they're still around. I don't know how we did it. A lot of it was just targeting the right places, I guess. But
because it was like, I swear it was like a couple, like close to like $1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost shit when
1,700,
800. I'm more comfortable if you say it's 1,500 for my mental.
I mean, you mark the price down.
I can cut you a deal if you want to, but no. And then I remember them coming in and like, I think he came back and like, my wife wanted to think somebody's just doing the demo of how to like shampoo everything. And I'm just like, this is still not worth 15. It's still around though. I mean, I got to give it credit. I mean, things got to be over 20 years old.
Yeah. So. They last forever. They're solid metal.
Yeah. I mean,
but that was a weird job, man. Just driving all over Central Ohio and just knocking doors all day, trying to set appointments to come back and vacuum their carpets and put on some 2-hour demonstrations. Sometimes you're getting out of those houses at like 10 o'clock at night and having to drive and you're young, and it was just weird. I don't know. Straight commission. You're not making a paycheck. It's you sell or you don't. That's where you got your money.
I mean, that's hardcore, like hard selling right there.
Yeah.
The bat, so
it was different, but like when you actually make money on it, you get sold on it, and that's what got me. Is I had this quick influx of money. Won a trip to Las Vegas. I'm like 20 years old. I get back then, and you got $1,000 in your pocket, 20 in cash. And this is great. Then you hit a downturn, and you're kind of struggling. So
I wonder if there's still door-to-door Kirby guys there.
I'm sure there are.
If you're there, don't come anywhere near where I live, by the way, if they're listening. Our Kirby works perfectly fine. Just needs a new hose. It's got duct tape. I'll show you after. It's pretty funny. But that's rough at 20 years old to go into where you're not getting a salary.
No.
There's a lot of no's. How do you deal with the no's? Because a lot of people in sales, or try to get into sales, the no is like the hardest thing for people to hear.
Right. Yeah. You just kind of drill it in your head. It's you figure out the math of it. That all right, I'm going to get this many no's before I get a yes. So it just all evens out in the end. So you would kind of keep track of setting appointments. For example, it was like if I can get 1 out of 5, that's the mark. So you might go 0 for 20, but then you'll get 4 in a row. Just weird stuff like that. I remember listening to a lot of tapes, Zig Ziglar and those guys. It's just, I don't know, big positive thinking thing. Feels like brainwashing now. Feels like they were just trying to brainwash. You have these meetings in the morning, and you sing these little Kirby songs.
Do you remember any of the Kirby songs?
No, I don't remember any.
No. I think he does. He's like, I'm not going to sing them now. Once we leave, you're sworn to secrecy. You're not allowed to sing the Kirby songs.
Yeah, I don't remember the songs. And then if you made a sale the day before, you get up in front of everybody, talk about your sale, and then you go out and start your day after this meeting. It was, I don't know, real strange few years.
You're like, I'm just here to make money.
Yeah. Now, and then eventually I was tired of it. I just wanted to go back to school and try to figure out how to do that. I was going to pay for it because, like I said, my dad was done. He had nothing to do with paying for me to go to school anymore. So,
which you don't hear that a lot of. Like you still hear like in today's world, parents are still helping kids that like fail out of one university to the other. I feel like our generation was like, if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. You're kind of on your own. That's rough. I mean, when you plan to do something and you fuck it up early.
I was in just a weird state of mind because that's all I wanted to do was go back to school and just So eventually the Army was. Going back to that choice is where I figured out how to do that. Like we can get there at some point, but I remember coming back from graduating AIT and everything and applying to Columbus State, not realizing the tuition assistance, that process and how long it takes to get approval. And you have to go through all that. And here's school starting in a few weeks, and asked my dad just to get me by until all that goes through. He's like, no, I'm not doing it. So I had to wait another semester just because he was that hardcore about not doing it.
So what was your feeling when that was happening, though? I mean, did you blame him, anger at him, or
no? I mean, it was my fault, but yeah, it was frustrating. I think we were together then. She was helping me. She was the one helping me figure out the TA process because she had already been in a little while.
Yeah. So you decided you jumped to going through AIT, but 2020 or 2000, you decided to join the reserves.
Yep.
As an engineer.
As an engineer was not my first choice.
You said in I think your bio that they gave you a good bonus and it was a quick AIT.
Yeah, because like I said, I just wanted to get back and start school. So I was like, all right, here's when the semester starts. What will get me through basic and AIT in time to come back to school? Like I wanted to go MP, and they kept shooting me down on that. Like I walked out of MEPS the first time. It's like, well, if you're not going to get it to it, I'm not doing it. So eventually I was like, all right, it's time. I got to pick something. So picked engineer, equipment operator. It's not my cup of tea really, but it worked. It was fine. Still enjoyed it a little bit, So
you mentioned your wife already. So when did you meet her in that timeline? Is this before you headed off to AIT?
No, I got back from AIT, joined. I was attached to 391st MPs out of Columbus. First drill, met her. First drill was overnight weekend down at Fort Knox doing mount training. I show up, don't know anybody. I just gotten back from basic or AIT like a week or two before that. So I show up and this is my first drill and met her and a bunch of the medics. She was medical at the time. So they kind of, we're in an MP unit. So the support people just kind of stuck to themselves. So they took me under their wing and made a bunch of friends that way.
And love blossomed.
That was actually, so that was
in the Mount side and Fort Knox. Not gonna. His wife's giving me the evil eye over there too. No, I'm gonna.
No, her words are, because we were drawing weapons. I was in front of her, and she whispered to somebody, "Well, drill just got a lot more interesting."
There you go.
The story.
That's the story. That's what she's sticking to.
Not true.
So you came back. You came back. Started going back to school again. Obviously, you get back from AIT. Throw your hand back at school again.
Yep.
How does it go? Second round at Columbus State.
Great. I was an honor student by the time I eventually graduated, but it was, I didn't take it for granted this time. It was what I wanted to do. Went to every class, did all my homework, all that stuff. No more staying out drinking and then sleeping through class the next day.
So is there any frustration knowing like you're the same person? You could have did it a few years earlier. Is it kind of get it out of your system, motivate you a little more? What was your thought?
Frustration piece is mainly for high school, I would say, because that's what, I love sports. I don't objectively can't say whether I was great or not, but I felt like I was good at sports, and that kind of kept me from maybe playing in college. And so that was real disappointing. And then having to leave St. Charles did bother me a little bit because I had a whole group of friends that I now didn't have that connection with, don't go to reunions with. So that was a little weird, but just the college piece, that first year, just feeling regrets about it. Not really. It was just something I went through. So
you're back in Columbus. What are you doing besides school?
I was painting. I was working construction. I was a painter. And then bouncing at the Newport Music Hall at night. Newport, Promo West, they ran that. Ohio State would throw on big events or concerts. We would work those if they needed help. The football games, we'd help search bags at the football games because that was, 9/11 happened, and that's when they started contracting us to do that.
So one of the things we're going to talk about is jiu-jitsu. When were you bouncing with jiu-jitsu experience,
Nope.
or this was after?
No, I was young and poor. Jiu-jitsu is an expensive hobby. And I think back then there was only one school in Columbus. It's still there. In Westerville, and I could never afford it. I'd call.
So how expensive is it then? I didn't.
Depends on. Around here, it's probably $100 a month.
Okay.
Plus your gear. The initial cost kind of a shocker for a lot of people. I think, in my opinion, that's.
I would think the shocker would be once you get there and then people are just brutally abusing you on the mat. I mean, I'd be like, the $500 is great, but the first time they throw you in there and you're getting like tapped out or someone's almost snapping your. So I think that would be like, well, maybe can I get my $500 back or something? No.
Yeah, I think I think the price keeps a lot, especially younger people, away. Jiu-jitsu gyms are like more established adults with jobs, and that's the way I see it. Anyway. I mean, there's places where it's different. It's different everywhere, but that's kind of the feeling I have about it.
Well, I was glad you weren't jiu-jitsu like bouncer, like just taking people out.
No, but I was still crazy back then.
I think you're still a little crazy now, but it's just you keep it down low like all.
I love that job. That was, if I could there's people that are still there, like they're managing the clubs now and stuff. But like if I could make like a real good living doing that, I would have done that. That was a great job, seeing all the bands and up and coming bands, and just we had a good group of guys. We all did everything together. That was a real fun job.
I feel like I'm drawing a blank here. What's the bouncer movie with Patriot?
Roadhouse.
Oh yeah, that's like
they
remade. Still living like that's the life you want to live deep down inside.
Not really. We're just watching. We're just enjoying music most times.
I heard that they're coming out with a
Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor.
I don't know. I feel like that's a movie you don't.
Yeah, they remake everything now.
That's an untouchable movie though. I don't know.
Dalton. I got a cousin. I'm pretty sure is named after that movie.
I hope. Have you seen that movie, Nate? Oh my God! See, Nate, we have Nate in the background. He's never seen any good movie, in my opinion. I don't know what movies he watches, but I'm always shocked at the movies he's never seen. I can't believe you've never seen that movie either. I'm going to be judging your heart on that. How do you? We'll get into that. We're back to you're back to doing painting, bouncing.
Yep.
Living the nightlife.
Yeah.
When does love finally blossom and you get married?
It was at an annual training. Was that 2001?
You said at the Boy Scout Jamboree.
Yeah, Boy Scout Jamboree. So we're in the MP unit.
The way you wrote that, she's like, I met my wife at the Boy Scout Jamboree. I was like, we're gonna have to dive into this a lot more detail. I'm like, I know what he's talking about, but this could be a perfect opportunity to harass him a little bit. I'm like, we got to talk about this. Like, was she working in the Jamboree? Were you? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, so one of the units got tasked with providing security for the Boy Scout Jamboree at AP Hill, Virginia. I'm sure it has a different name now, but so they bring Boy Scouts from all over the world. It's their big event every year. And since we weren't MPs, we just got tasked with working at the talk or helping the PMO with the phones or whatever, different little base cleanup stuff. And it was so like I said, we were all support. So we all hung out together, and it was actually a fun time because they were just like, look, when you're not working, just be responsible. We did a lot of partying that week or those 2 weeks, but we all showed up for work every day and did what we were supposed to do. Nobody got in any trouble. And so we just me and my wife, Jennifer, we just, got to talking a lot then, got close. And a week after we got home and went to Ozfest, a bunch of us from the unit went to Ozfest, and it's kind of where we first got together. We've been together since.
So how many years now?
We've been married 20 years. 21 years.
Oh, whoa. She's like, 21.
Yeah.
I should have prepped that one before. I did leave you hanging on that question.
21 years. So
you sure?
Yes.
Jenna, you sure? Okay. We're good. So 21. So interesting. We'll talk about now with Jen. So I think people picked up by now. You guys are dual military family.
Dual military.
We're going to get about the part of, like, I look in your history, I might have it wrong, but it seems like moved around a lot for Jen's career more. Yeah.
So the following year after we got together, we had our son, 2002. She was actually, when we got together, I remember we kissed at Ozfest, and she looked at me and she goes, Dan, I'm going active duty. Because she was trying to go active duty. She's hiding her face. So that was kind of always something she wanted to do.
Right.
So fast forward back to a year, we have our son, get married a few months after that. Trying to make things work. I'm trying to figure out, how we're going to do this. I'm just, like I said, working 2 jobs, going to school. And so she really wants to go active duty. So she kind of makes that decision for the family. And we ended up at Fort Carson. So we move out there. Complete culture shock for me.
Beautiful place, though.
Yeah, it was fun. Ended up growing to love it a little bit. So yeah, we moved out there, just us and our son. We get there, we're there a few months, and her unit's already in Iraq. This is OIF-1. So we're just getting established, and then her unit's like, yeah, we need another body. You need to come to Iraq. She flies to Iraq by herself. Never met her unit. That's, I don't know. To me, that's crazy. Yeah. She flies out there by herself. It's just me and my son for a good 6 months, just hanging out in Colorado, some town we don't know. But it was good. Me and him grew a little connection then that I don't regret that part at all.
Yeah, you're the first, dual military, husband that we've had that talked about that. So, what is that like? Because we've had a couple wives on that talked about, or spouses have been on that talked about, being on that end of it. Like, what was it like moving to Fort Carson? Young kid, wife leaves. What was that? What were the challenges for you during that time?
It has its struggle, because you don't feel like you have the support system there, because we're brand new to this town. All our friends and family are still back in Columbus. And then she has to go. So just, I don't know. I tried to do my best to find a place. I joined a gym. I went there, they had daycare at the gym. So I did that a lot. That was probably, my main way of getting out of the house because still didn't know anybody. The FRG, I don't think even reached out till they were coming back. So it was just, I don't know. And then just the whole being the husband side of an active duty wife is just different because the wives have their own thing. I don't think that's any big secret.
Yeah.
It's
That's why I brought up like my next door neighbor at Knox. His wife was a nurse, and then he was a stay home dependent husband, which is it's just not it's different, right? I mean this is the time. Yeah, I mean it may be different now, but it was very different than it wasn't normal. So it would always be strange.
No,
even when we'd all hang out, you're kind of like
it's definitely
he's
different.
not even in the military. It's kind of a weird thing, so I could see that. So not a lot of support and. So how did but what that must be a challenge. What was it like having just you and your son though? It had to be a good time, some good times in that. Like
I mean, we came back for the holidays. Like we spent a good month and a half back home. So we came back, I think for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, and then I went back. So that was good to have that piece to kind of break it up. And then so we get back and we're trying to find my own place again, but it was nice just having that time with my son, creating a little bond there, just me and him. But were you asking like just overall what it's like being a husband?
Yeah, no, I mean just in that situation. I mean, I think it's we can talk more because it seems like you did move around for Jen's career, so
yeah,
a lot of things in your life you kind of take a back seat. You're the first, you're the first, male spouse we've had on that did that. So just a different point of view. I mean, we can talk about it as we go. We don't have to talk about it.
No, the first duty station was probably the hardest, the most difficult because I wasn't really working. Even after she got back, I was just focusing on school. I was working part-time here and there, like, bouncing. I worked at a gym for a little while and then, I was working the door at a bar.
We got to get you in Roadhouse somehow. If it's too late, I mean, that'd be great. Yeah, but I mean, was there any thoughts about when you went out to Carson to come back home and just stay here all the time?
There was a thought about that. Yeah, for sure. Like I even called my old boss. It's like, hey, if I come back for a little while,
What stopped you from doing that?
Just, I don't know. Just that's where my family was. That's where my kid was, my wife. Just felt like a panic move to maybe consider going back home. Felt like a panic move.
Yeah, because a lot of spouses, when they, when the service member deploys, if there's someplace they leave, go back home for, a little bit more support.
Yeah.
A lot of them say, but it definitely, you do think it was different being a male spouse.
Oh, definitely.
And at that time.
Yeah. Especially because like I said, I wasn't really working a job. I was just going to school and spending the days with the kids. And so I was like this house husband, stay at home dad type deal. So it was a little weird feeling. Kind of a stigma, I guess, you have to work through.
Did anybody give you shit about it, or was it your own stigma you put on yourself?
Mostly just me.
Yeah.
It was just a feeling. I would say nobody would openly say anything about that.
No, I mean, I hope not, but it was. I mean, I probably have said it to my old neighbor, but it is different because you have a different culture of people. I mean, and it's not to be a mean thing, but it's just like you said, the wives have their own thing, and you're just really not part of that whole. And I hope that that's changed in the years now with all that's happened. I've heard that it's gotten a lot more positive. Like the FRGs are a little bit more inclusive, but I couldn't imagine walking into, like, I used to feel uncomfortable as a company commander when you were talking to the FRG, and you know what I mean? It just was. It didn't always feel. I don't know. It was different. I don't know how to put it, but it's just an interesting thing. So you stayed at Fort Carson for a few years.
Yeah,
about 3 years.
About 3 years. Like I said, I was bouncing at night, so during the week it's dead. So that's where I would study. I got the best grades of my life. I just sit there and study and do my homework all night, during the week. And then, a couple nights on the weekends, and that was it. That's where I actually kind of started jiu-jitsu, I guess you could say. It's when the combatives program started getting initiated, the MACP program, Modern Army Combatives program. So I had friends that became instructors at Fort Carson, so I would just go there at nights to roll with them because it was free. So we would do that. That's kind of where I got introduced into that world. Really enjoyed it. We were there a few years. Then she got off active duty first time. From there, we moved back to Ohio.
So move back to Cincinnati then? Or?
Moved back to Cincinnati. Her parents had a farmhouse down there, and they had split up for a little while, got their own places, and that house was available to us. So it made it an easy transition for us when we moved back. So we lived there for about a year. Then I started working in Columbus, installing off. I was going to school at Ohio State, and then that was online at that time. And then I was installing office furniture, like the cubicles and stuff. Joined a unit, and we were in Colorado. Joined an engineering unit there. It was actually the 52nd. At that time, had a tri-component, so they had their active duty 52nd, which is still around. Then they had a reserve and a National Guard company, and then so we moved back to Cincinnati. Found a unit in Cincinnati, engineer unit there, and then, like I said, I was driving driving up to Columbus for work, and then driving back down to Cincinnati. Sometimes staying in Columbus.
So how important was the reserve? You joined an MOS that you really weren't excited about.
Right.
So how was your, those years of being a, engineer?
I never got to do it. It's a heavy equipment operator. There's not many training opportunities as a reservist for that. When I was in Colorado, we went to Panama for an AT. I was there for a month. I was excited about it. Like, I'm finally going to get to do my job. My group got there at the tail end of the rotation. So they were building this village out in the jungle. And the tail end of the rotation was you're washing the trucks to put them on the boat. We get there, and they put us up in a 5-star resort on the canal. They put us up there, said, look, you're all adults. It was the same thing. Just show up to work. Don't get in trouble. We don't care what you do. So we would go out, wash vehicles all day, every day, and then come back, shower, and just stay downstairs drinking and playing cards, playing euchre all night at this resort.
I do love hearing some stories about the people in the reserves and National Guard that they have an MOS and they're like, yeah, I didn't do it for 10, 11 years. And I was field artillery for 20 years. And I never fired
it's frustrating.
Artillery piece.
It's
other than AIT. No.
So yeah, but Panama was great, dude. It's beautiful. I would go back any day.
Yeah, we had a Marine guest who had a lot different stories than you were about Panama. I'm glad we weren't gonna have any more Panama flashbacks. They were not. He was not taking the same type of instruction that you were getting. He was more down there. I think they were causing troubles more. Yeah.
Kayaking on the lake.
they were just causing a lot of drinking at Paris. I forget what animal we learned about, but it'll come to me what he was talking about being out there in Panama. But so you got your first deployment there. It wasn't really kind of what you thought, though, right? Just a little bit.
I wouldn't call it a deployment, but yeah, we were there a month. It was fun. I'm glad I did it. Free trip to Panama, basically.
5-star hotel, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
So you're back here. You're back in Cincinnati for a little while.
Year.
Oh.
We were there a year. Then she went AGR, Active Guard Reserve. Okay. Switched to Civil Affairs. So she got stationed in Columbus. So we moved back up to Columbus. And then again, I was just working and going to school for those years we were here. Ended up graduating Ohio State. I deployed. That's right. 2009, finally deployed. Like, I want to deploy for so long. Everybody had deployed. Everybody's got patches. I don't have a patch. It felt like I was like the only one. So I really wanted to deploy. So 2009.
You just want to have a patch like Jen to be like, sure, that's all right. You're like, I just got to get a patch.
My deployment was not nearly as cool as her.
Jen is like always walking up to you, like showing you that, like.
No. She got to go to Saddam's hole.
That's pretty cool.
I did not get to do that.
Not many people got to do that. So you did deploy with the 961st
Engineers.
Okay.
We got attached to some Tennessee battalion. We got attached to them. Deployed. Actually, one of those weird people that liked deployment. Like, I really liked it. It had its bad parts.
What did you like about it?
But just that's kind of where I learned how to be a leader, especially as in that situation. It was just a different way to actually learn how to lead your soldiers. Like the engineer part, we spent a lot of time building roads. We went out every day. Started just doing this perimeter road around the base. We were out east and Al Kut, and I'm never did equipment operation. Here I am an NCO and just trying to use what little knowledge I still have about it, and just instinct to manage these projects. And it's more about managing people. You don't have to be an expert at the job as long as you can manage the people right. Use the guys who are experts at that job to help get you through. And it was like from day one, I'm just an E5, went through MOB, like in the reserves, you go through a mobilization process. So we're out at Fort McCoy and I was struggling with that. Didn't feel like I felt like there were other guys that were surpassing where I was. And I remember calling my wife one day and just like, look, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. These guys are getting recognized for stuff. She's like, do you want to be the leader that gets awards, or do you want to be the leader whose people respect you? And so that's something I took to heart and always carried with me. So, so we get to Iraq and they're just automatically throwing me on these little missions. Like, it was like me and maybe one other guy here or there. Like, we got to go out with another unit immediately to do the trade-off with, just me and another guy. So we did that. That was a weird experience. First time in Iraq, you hear all these stories. You're going through months of being told about IEDs and Tampa this and Tampa that. Here we go out the gate and we're building a range for the Iraqi police right next to Tampa. Like, there's Tampa, it's the most dangerous highway in the world, and we're standing right next to it. This is weird. So I was really, stuff like that is what I liked about it. Just, we started actually going out and doing our own convoys places. They put me in the lead truck as a TC and like, look, you're in charge of this convoy. You do the map, make the map. Here's where we're going. Put it in the BFT and send it to everybody. And it's just like, why me? But I loved it. It was great. It's just that responsibility felt good.
I mean, I feel like you were waiting a long time for that, though, with the reserve time. I'm sure you've been there a long time. At this point, you've been in, 9 years?
Yeah.
And not really getting much to your job, kind of bouncing around to different units.
Yeah.
So I can see how it's, you're wanting to, prove your grit. Or
it was good. I that kind of stuff I liked. I like the routine of it. Just every day, here's what you're going to do. And then you come back, take a shower, go eat, watch some movies, go to the gym, eat midnight chow, go use the phones, go use the computers. So, we didn't have the most eventful deployment in the world, but it was a good experience.
I think deployments, anything you talk to, like there's some thing about the ritual, right? There's a lot of things that that you don't have to deal with. It's kind of a way of like a numb in some way. You don't have to worry about what your wife is doing with the kids back home.
Yeah,
you kind of do, but you're not having to worry about getting a kid to practice. You're not having to worry about using your Kirby vacuum. Do you have a Kirby vacuum? That back to the Kirby?
No, we don't have a Kirby.
Motherfucker.
We have a Dyson. We got our fancy Dyson.
Oh, I want my money back for that Kirby. But it's kind of paid for now after 20 some years. So we're going to take a break here we'll talk about our first featured whiskey. How about that? You ready for some whiskey? I'm almost done with my beer. So you're like me. You love the Elijah Craig picks.
I do.
So you brought us an Elijah Craig pick today. Always got to love those. We got some other ones up here, but Dan brought us the Barrel for Hope, Elijah Craig Barrel Strength. It comes from Heaven Hill. We've talked about Heaven Hill in the past, but Heaven Hill is actually is a private American-owned, unoperated distillery, which was founded in 1935. Is located in Bardstown, Kentucky. It is the 7th largest alcohol supplier in the U.S. and the 2nd largest holder of bourbon whiskey inventory in the world. It's the largest independent family-owned distillery that's still out there in the U.S. And it's actually the only largest family owned in Kentucky as well too. So Heaven Hill Products, Elijah Craig, Evan Williams, Old Fitzgerald, Larceny, Henry McKenna, a lot of great ones. You can't really go wrong with any of the Evan Hill stuff if you ask me. But they first started off with what we know as Elijah Craig in 2016. It was early enough in 2016. They redesigned the Elijah Craig small batch and small batch barrel proof offerings. They originally started with the 94 proof, which I think I pulled one of those up there. And then in 2021, they changed over to offering the 94 and the barrel strength. They went off pretty fast. Everybody seemed to forget about the 94 proof and went full blown into the barrel proof stuff, which I can't blame them. It's good stuff. But the Barrel for Hope's Elijah Craig barrel pick is 9 years old. It's 121.4 proof, and the mash bill is the normal Elijah Craig mash bill, which is 78% corn, 10% rye, and 12% malted barley. Looking forward to it. So
yeah, I missed the 12-year, the original 12-year standard offering. So Elijah Craig was like my first everyday whiskey.
So what got you into Elijah Craig? What was your?
I don't know. I was just picking different whiskeys.
Yeah.
I think it was around Thanksgiving every year. I would try a different whiskey, and then that first Elijah Craig 12-year I had is kind of like, all right, yeah, this is for me. So yeah, and then Barrels for Hope is a charity group I belong to.
Well, there's the ticket there. We didn't see that in the picture, but
they do picks. You pay for your membership, and they send you 6 picks a year, and then part of that membership goes to different charities. They have a veterans one, Flags of Hope, Folds for Hope. I can't remember. It's provides scholarships for fallen military members for their kids and families. So it's a good organization. I love this pick.
I'm excited. Cheers. Thanks. We'll try some other ones here. So. Oh, wow. That's good. And then I haven't been drinking. This is probably only the third or fourth bourbon I've had since New Year's Eve. So I'm like, it tastes so good. I miss it. I kind of want to put on my skin a little bit.
Yeah.
No, it does have I mean, you really can't go wrong with Elijah Craig, though. I mean, really you can't. Whether you go to the 94 proof, any of the Heaven Hill products, I think are phenomenal. Evan Williams gets overlooked, but I think there's some really good Evan Williams offerings that are out there. But definitely
the Parker's Heritage.
Yeah, some great stuff. I just find that my thing with these now is just they're close to like $79, $89. I think they're $89 in Ohio, so it's a huge jump up from $39.99 barrel proof. I mean 94 proof single barrel. So we'll have a hit of that when you're done with that. So
okay.
So you come back, the deployment. What didn't you like about deployment? You said you loved everything about it. You got to say something. I suggest you say what you didn't like about deployment was being away from Jen and your kids. I can give you that. I was going to write that down, but I'll give you that. What didn't you like about being deployed?
You get sick of people. You get the leadership kind of wears down, especially when you got some different things going on with there. They can you get at odds.
Yeah.
Just being away from your family is a big, like you said, that's a big one. So I was actually going to extend my stay there, get attached to another unit, but it's just needed to come home. Our son, he was starting to have behavioral issues while I was gone. So I just really needed to get back for that. And he was 5 at the time, but kindergarten. So it was time to come back. But
so you come back like a lot of us now. You have your patch. Did you show Jen?
No, I didn't wear it. I still didn't wear it.
It is an interesting patch. It almost looks like the 4ID patch. I noticed on the picture. I thought of it.
The engineer patch?
Yeah, it's kind of like the one. I mean, I'll have to show you one of the pictures, but it's like, is that 4ID? But it kind of has that same shape.
Oh, you're talking the propeller one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a little bit.
A little crazy about. Because I think that the 4ID patch is an awful patch. There's some awful patches in the military, right? There's just awful patches in the military. 4ID. I didn't know that. That's even better. I didn't know that. I mean, I was in 4ID, so I can talk about 4ID. It was actually 2nd Armored Division. I'm dating how old I am, but it was the 2nd Armored Division that reflagged the 4ID, which we weren't very happy about. But it's a propeller, and it's supposed to be
some World War II, building the airfields type of thing. So,
I love how when you're in the unit, you remember all these things of what they mean.
Yeah,
And then
it was-
when you leave, you're like, no, I don't.
Well,
I
the
don't
battalion we
remember.
were attached to, his commander our BC was huge into that because his dad was an engineer during World War II. So he was real big on the whole, connection there.
So you come back.
Yep.
You got your deployment under your belt.
Deployment's done.
You've got to be an NCO like you wanted to.
Yep. Rode on that. Rode on that clout for a little while, a little bit of high. And then just
We'll talk about that because you've had a reserve career. I mean, I don't think it's
Yeah.
a legitimate thing. I mean, you're doing, you're not able to do something. You get to go finally, do your mission.
Yep.
You find out you're pretty good at it. Sounds like you were good at it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
And then you're back, a few months later, back to the reserve life.
Yeah.
You're not doing that.
Yeah.
Any struggles at that point at all coming back?
No, not really. Not for me. It took that year to finish school actually, so there was, she was still AGR, just doing our family stuff and trying to finish school, focusing on that.
So you get promoted a couple years later to
Yeah,
E6?
I did. I got promoted E6. This will transition into the next piece is, so when you're putting a packet together, I don't know how active duty packets are for your promotions. I don't. Putting your packet together as a reservist, they have a cover sheet and you say how far you're willing to travel for an assignment for promotion because they have to have a slot. And then you can choose like, I'm willing to do this or this. So I put 100 miles because that's about how far Cincinnati is from Columbus. 100 miles. And then I put instructor. I'd be willing to be an instructor. In my head, I'm thinking like OCT or teach at a schoolhouse and on DSCC or something like that. No, so I get promoted into a drill sergeant unit because I marked instructor and because my unit in Cincinnati was like 110 miles, not 100.
Like it's close enough.
Yeah. So it was not quite within that 100 miles that I said I'd be willing to travel. So they put me in a drill sergeant unit.
So what was your thoughts when that happened?
I did not like it at first. But I was like, all right, well, I'd be willing to give it a try. Sure.
I think you're our first drill sergeant we've had on.
Really?
So it's one of the things you said before, if you were like, I was the reserve drill sergeant. I don't think it makes a difference, though. I mean, I think the drill sergeants have always, it's an important role for the indoctrination of many people for many years, I think.
Yeah.
So talk about what a reserve drill sergeant is then.
Reserve drill sergeant, you're in a drill sergeant unit. This is the nice thing I liked about it is all NCOs. Like you'll have a company commander, but besides that, it's just all NCOs. All from different MOSs mainly, unless you're in a like special unit who's going to go do engineer OSIT or infantry OSIT. For the most part, it's especially in the reserve, it's a way for combat MOSs to go into the reserves because there's not really any combat MOSs in the reserve. So it's a way for them to do that. So drill sergeant unit in the reserves, you're just trying to keep up on the basic tasks. That's your month to month. You have to get creative sometimes. But then you go to drill sergeant school, just like everybody, active duty with all the active duty guys, and a handful of reservists. You're going to their drill sergeant school.
So what's drill sergeant school like?
It sucks. Again, I made the best.
I feel like it's exactly like being a drill sergeant. Like all of them it's like being around. It'd be like basic training, right?
It's basic.
That's
training.
exactly over, right?
Except for you're teaching it. You're going through basic training all over again. Every phase, every event, you're doing it all over again. You're getting yelled at by drill sergeants all over again. Especially for the E7s, they had a real hard time with that. Having E6 drill sergeants yell.
Right.
But you're going through all the events. Only this time you have to memorize everything and pitch it back to them. And you have to lead, you get picked to do certain events. You're in charge of this. And you're just getting graded the whole time you're there. So
how long's the school?
It's 3 months. just like basic training. We were lucky because we PCS to Fort Bragg at the time, Fort Liberty now.
We'll stick with Bragg. I'm okay.
Okay, so we had just.
I am
PCS.
completely fine with we'll stick with Bragg. I'm 100% okay with that. No, I'm kidding. I'm not though.
We just PCS to Bragg, and drill sergeant school is in Columbia, South Carolina. So it's just a few hour drive from home. So I didn't have to leave my family in Germany to come to drill sergeant school, to fly back to Germany to PCS them to whatever basic training you're going to.
Right.
So we, and then at that time, it might be different now. We had most weekends off. So I would drive home on the weekends and come see my family. And that's where I would study, because you have to pitch these modules back to them, like every position, every D&C movement. You have to have it memorized. At the time, you didn't know which one you were going to have to do. They'd hand out 3 sheets of paper and you pick one, and that was the one you had to give at that time. So I would be in the car just studying, studying cadences to try to keep yourself awake, because they're going to judge you on every little thing. So that was it was a different 3 months. We made the best. I like Columbia. Columbia's a fun town.
Did you hate being away from your family? Just trying to help you.
I'm
just trying to help. I'm just trying to help you.
She was
like, I'm just watching. She's like, I'm not supposed to talk about Columbia. No,
she had to turn
around. Home on the weekends. What are you talking about? Like, no, I'm kidding.
She had to turn around right when I was down there. Down there for AIT platoon sergeant school. So it was, but yeah, it was. Columbia's nice. Weather's for the most part decent down there. I made some good friends there, but I don't know. It was, as a reservist, like I said earlier, just not prepared for the school, not knowing what to expect. Felt out of place. But I passed everything.
What made you feel out of place? Just guys that were doing it every day?
Yeah, I'm just some goofy reservist, And here you are with, I couldn't tell you the engineer song. I couldn't the creeds for all. I couldn't do that. The stuff these guys get quizzed for boards and whatever. I didn't know any of this stuff. The infantry guys knew, that's their expertise. Basically, basic training is infantry, a light, scaled down version of infantry school. So that's their job. So they all knew this stuff. And I'm just some goofy dude down there. I think it kind of pissed people off that I first time go to everything. Like what they, true blue to everything. First time go, it was just, not what was expected of me. But
so when did it click for you that you knew you were doing a good job? Though? I mean, you're doing a little self-deprecation. I'm goofy, but when did it click that okay, I'm first time go. This is coming easier to me than other people, or
I think maybe the people I was becoming close to, the friends I was making, were mostly the infantry guys. It sounds weird, but it just, I don't know. It just felt like I fit in with them the most. So it felt like that kind of made me stand apart a little bit more. If that makes sense at all. That's just the way I saw it at the time. But it was a good school. I'm glad I had some good times there. Learned a lot. It's, one guy put it, it's everything I hate about the Army wrapped up into a school. It's all the standard stuff, all the dress, everything's perfect. It has to be word for word this way, wrapped up in one school. And that's not the way I really am.
Yeah.
So that part was tough.
But I think that's a lot of military people, though. I mean, if you really think about it, most military people don't like being told what to do. If you really dig into it, they really don't like to do all these things. But it's like basic training, or if you for me, I always talk about my freshman year in college and military school was the worst time. But if I can bitch about it, but if anybody talks about it, I can justify 100 reasons why it was important, why we had to iron, a bed, and you're doing all this kind of stuff, and 45 degrees. It's crazy when you think about it, but you're like, no, it was so important, but it actually is. But I think it builds that thing of being able to be held to a high standard, because all basic training, all those things, there's a high standard.
Yeah.
And to be able to teach it is pretty pretty, it's pretty important, and it's not easy to do. I mean, there's a reason like a lot of people aren't walking around with, the drill sergeant badge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
It reinforced what right's supposed to look like, as far as a lot of things. It reinforces the doctrine and kind of gets you back up to that where the standard's supposed to be. It puts you back in that mindset. PRT was new then, like brand new, which is the way you're supposed to run PT. Before it was like, all right, we're going to do these stretches, and then you just wing it. You know what I mean? You just wing it. All right, we're going to do pyramid push-ups and sit-ups. But now it's like strict regimented. This is a system that you're going to follow, and you're going to do it this way. So we had to learn all that brand new.
And what day they teach you the knife hand? Like when you learn your knife hand? Like when is? I mean, I feel like what is that day one? They teach you how to like the salute. They're like, okay, just move it from here to.
You know what the hardest thing is? You can't cross your arms. You can't. You have hands in your lap, standing around for hours. The hands in your lap. You cannot cross your arms.
That's actually a hard thing for anybody.
Yeah, it's struggle. Yeah,
Or
like
putting your hands in your
physically.
Yeah, just to stand there and not put your hands in your pocket or cross your hands. Yeah, that's But I mean, there's like the drill sergeant knife. Did you come home and practice with Jen? Like you're like,
Not do that.
or did she teach you? She's like, you're gonna go to this school.
I have a picture of my daughter wearing my hat doing it. She was like 4. She's wearing my hat and little dress.
So you graduate from there, like as a drill sergeant, reserve drill sergeant. Do you go to AITs, or where do you go from there as how does that work?
Not AITs, not then at least,
Okay.
because it was AIT platoon sergeants then.
Okay.
They had went away from drill sergeants and started putting AIT platoon sergeants in, which were supposed to be subject matter experts in that job. So, so we would go to basic trainings, and basic trainings would have a special company set up called Echo Company. That's where the majority of the people went, was these Echo companies. So what I gathered from when I did it the first time was these were drill sergeants that needed extra time. So you're going in to help the active duty guys get a little bit of a break for whatever reason. Family stuff, one guy had, his wife was about to have a baby. People have schools, stuff like that. So when you show up, the initial reaction is, all right, cool, you're here. Thanks. See you later. That's the initial reaction, but you got to really understand that there's a reason that you're there with them.
Yeah, I talked about this before. We were going to talk about this eventually in the podcast, but I did some numbers. We talk on Boards with Patriots about mental illness and all the things that are come with PTS. So the thing about drill sergeants is one of the things I looked up online today is like one of the leading causes for stressors for drill sergeants, which are interesting to hear time to exercise, right? Which you think they're doing because they're really not getting that much time in there. Lack of sleep, I can understand that, and long work hours.
Yeah.
So the things you talked about. So right now, some numbers that recently came out: 19% of drill sergeants are depressed. 27% have moderate to severe insomnia. 14% have generalized anxiety disorder. 48% have high burnout. 32% have functional impairment. 35% of moderate alcohol abuse, and 32% display off-duty aggression, and 25% have low morale, which all of them are peaking at 13 to 18 months on the trail. So
it's a 2-year assignment.
Yeah. So it's, I think a lot of people in the military make fun. They'll make fun of drill sergeants, but we look at they're saying like these people that are invincible, they have it all together. In reality, they're stressed out. They're probably more stressed out than the trainees are that they're training.
Yeah, it's a rough job. And just keeping track of all the stuff you're supposed to get. You can have one guy in charge of a whole basic training platoon. So he's got no help, no relief, because when you get to a certain phase, you do early man, late man. So one guy shows up, does PT, takes him through lunch. The other guy comes at lunch. And then sometime in the afternoon, the early man goes home. The late guy stays and puts him to bed. So if you're by yourself, you don't have that. You're just like my drill sergeant, just ended up being by himself the whole time, halfway through our cycle. So it's, a lot of just long hours, just away from your family. So especially if you have like your wife's pregnant or your kids are having issues or for whatever reason, it's a stressful job. Plus you're in charge of all these privates. They're always trying to find a way to get over on you. They're always
They're like, I don't want to do this. No. I mean, So that's true. Like it's like herding kittens. That's what you're
Yeah,
doing. It's
there's a cell phone, and you got to find out who the snitch is, and you just start talking to the snitch. And you're like, I heard there's a phone. Who's got the phone? You're like, what?
So how'd you know who the snitches were? How did you?
All right, because they're the ones that come up and talk to you. They're the ones that want to be your friend, or they're like
There you
the
go.
ROTC kid who thinks they're already in the military.
I know what's
You
going
know?
on, Sergeant. You're not gonna believe this.
The sneakiest
Jen
kids,
has the phone. She has the phone.
at Fort Jackson, the sneakiest kids are the Citadel kids.
I like to hear that as a Norwich guy.
Yeah,
Did you hear that, Citadel guys? No.
yeah, the Citadel. They come down to Fort Jackson, and they think they know everything. They know how to get over. They know all the secrets. They're the ones that hide all the shit and tell everybody all the ways to get over.
Way to go, Citadel. I'm proud of you guys.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, that's a part of it. I mean, so that time you're doing that, did you, any of those things creep up on you? The anxiety, irritability?
Yeah, the anxiety
drinking.
for sure. Oh, not the drinking. Drinking wasn't a problem. Not for me, but
Except for
yeah,
now,
the
but-
anxiety is especially. I was paired with this guy who was just angry. Like the active duty drill sergeant I was paired with he was angry a lot. And I remember we went to a range. It might have been U.S. weapons, which is where the privates get to shoot. They get introduced to the 240 and the 420, the new grenade launcher. You know, the AT4. And there's every range they have a binder. Every range has the safety thing, the risk management, all that stuff. Every range, you know, you go to every range, every site you go to for training has a table that you have to set up. You flip to the page of the risk management stuff. There's a placard where you put who you are, what you're doing. Just every range gets set up this certain way. Ice sheets, no matter what the temperature is, for some reason you always have to take ice sheets with you, which is just a chest full of ice and water with bed sheets in it in case somebody has a heat casualty. So anyway, we get to U.S. weapons. The risk management that was supposed to be in this binder wasn't in there, and just they're flipping through it, trying to find this, and it was not in there. And it has to be signed by probably a colonel. And the guy's on the phone yelling at me, and he's like, "All right, we'll give the phone to so and so." So I give it to the other guy, and he's flipping through trying to find it. And he's like, "It's not in here." I'm like, "Will you tell him I'm not stupid now?" He was just constantly angry at everything, and I don't know. It started to wear on me. But yeah, it's a hard job.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you can kind of think of those numbers. You talk about drill sergeants. I always think a lot of it is like a persona. Some of it is, but then again, it's not an easy job. So I think they are pissed off at a lot of things and that are going on. It's not it's definitely, it's not Full Metal Jacket, right? I think. I mean, not that is that a good drill sergeant? It's really not a good drill sergeant, but I mean, it kind of glamorizes the whole thing. But it's a tough job with with a lot of responsibility,
Yeah.
and a lot of like regulations that you got to follow, and like you said before, throwing the human factor of young 18 to 24-year-olds that
you get to talking to that guy, and his wife's a drill sergeant, and they got kids. One of them's autistic, so it's understandable why he's a little high strung,
and it's pretty admirable too. I mean, that's what I'm saying is you're dealing with. That's the thing about the military. Even when you're a leader, like or an NCO, you take on you have to look out for your subordinates. But I think that being a drill sergeant, like it's like the most important time that you have to be there for them. I can't imagine like in the middle of you yelling out like your wife calling you because your son fell down and hit his head. It's kind of like, don't call me from this hour, I'll call you, that kind of stuff. So it can wear on it. So I've always, whenever you see somebody with the drill sergeant badge, it's always I have a lot of respect for it because it's I know it's not easy, and especially like you said before, I did it as a cadet, which is crazy in school, and it wasn't easy then. But I can't imagine and that's college. That's not the real, the real military. But I'm just glad I didn't go to the Citadel. She like it's too hot down there, anyways. But so you did that for how long?
3 years. I was in drill sergeant, reserve drill sergeant world for about 3 years. So North Carolina and then Rhode Island. Did it there. Rhode Island, I actually went to Leonard Wood for my summer.
So back to drill sergeant school, you said we didn't like. What was your favorite thing about doing that?
Just the people I met, I still talk to some of the guys. getting to experience that active duty lifestyle a little bit more. That's like really the only like big time active duty school I've been to. I'm not airborne. I'm not air assault. So
I was gonna make funny about not being airborne. But simple affairs, but Jen told me to really like stick that to you.
they walk away, nice little badge and your fancy hat. And you got something to be proud of. It's a big accomplishment, really.
That's huge. I mean, there's a lot of respect. I mean, you see, like you said before. I mean, it's a badge that a lot, that not a lot of people don't have, and it does show a lot of. It's an individual event, right? It's a long school. 3 months is a long time.
Yep.
What was it? I mean, what was your favorite thought about training soldiers?
I don't know. Just the personalities are all different. So you can have a lot of fun with that. Just seeing these different kids from different worlds all over again. Just, and then working with them, trying to keep them getting them up to where they can graduate and become good soldiers and move on with their careers. It's a pretty important thing. You don't want them to just go to their unit not knowing anything because their drill sergeant didn't care. So it's a really important aspect of pride to just get there and do your job and know what you're doing and just not hang out.
All right. Was there any soldier that you looked at and you're like, there's no way this dude or dudette is going to make it? This fucking guy is screwed. and they did make it. Like,
there's a lot
any story like that?
They eventually.
I was having a feeling because I want to hear this, but
they filter themselves out. Like they end up just being these kids who are just like, when you get someplace, you're like, all right, stay here and watch everybody's gear. Like they filter themselves out that way. You don't want to leave them behind, but you got so little time and so many people you have to work with. You don't have time to sit there and work with these kids on one-on-one every day. So they kind of filter themselves out that way. But I remember we were doing 240s, sitting in the classroom doing 240s. I caught one kid writing a letter. And she was going to be an 88 Mike truck driver. And then I remember telling her, like, you're going to end up in a transport unit. And you know where they're going to put you? They're going to put you up in the turret. And I was like, so how do you think you get anywhere? You're going to beam me up, Scotty? The next, like, beam me up, Scotty. Fuck, I'm old. Kids don't know Star Trek. I'm talking a totally different language. So I don't know. You catch kids that are just like that constantly, just don't care. You can tell they don't want to be there.
Did you see any of the soldiers? Did you see yourself in any of them? Like you going through that process at the time, or was it any self-reflection?
I didn't have enough time to do that. We're only there.
You were getting all deep, like, well, that kind of reminds me of Dan. That's like, man, but
I wasn't around them long enough to figure that part out, I guess. I don't know.
Have you ever ran into any soldiers?
No, never have. Ran into one kid that I did train when he was AIT at SWIC. I went in to help out for a few days, and he ended up being in the same unit in Rhode Island that we were in. That's the closest I came to that. Nobody from like basic training specifically.
They're like, Sergeant Skunza, you changed my life.
Wasn't even there that long.
You remember me? You were the one that were yelling about being Scott. Oh my god! I don't know how you did that. I mean, because I felt like it was bad enough with like because we did it like we call it cadre at school in college, and most of it is just at that time it's even crazier because I don't even know who gave us the authority to do what we were doing.
Yeah,
it was like a quick school you went to, and then like all of a sudden they just unleashed 20-year-old people on 18-year-old people, which
it's not like
it's not a good idea.
Like you spend the whole drill sergeant school being yelled at about what's going to get you into trouble. What's just like you're just scared to death of getting in trouble.
Yeah, I don't think we were. We were doing all kinds of. I just felt like it was. I always look back at that. I'm like, there was 20-year-olds in charge of 17 and 18-year-olds. No adult supervision, and doing the same thing you guys were doing, yelling at each other. I mean, there was no,
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that because it's on camera. Maybe there's no statute of limitations of the hazing and stuff we were doing. But
no, when I was at Leonardwood, they came over to our company like, we need people for a shark attack. This private's coming fresh off the bus. Like, we need you guys to come help with the shark attack. So we're like, yeah, let's go do the shark attack. And the active duty guys are like, go have fun with that. Go lose your voice. So we're all amped up. And like, I remember one little tiny private, sorry, the last one getting off the bus. They're making them walk like a good 50, 75 yards, carrying their duffels over their head. Little tiny, tiny short private. Can barely do it. It's got it on her head, knocks her cover off. And I start to bend over to pick it up. And then in my head, I go, drill sergeant, what the fuck are you doing? So I kick it. And I'm like, get your fucking hat, private. Barking at her the whole way down to this pit. Sergeant Major comes over, pulls me aside. Drill sergeant, you're doing great. Doing great. You can't kick their stuff.
You can't pick it up and you can't kick it.
He's like, you can't kick your stuff, but you're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like, you can't even kick their hat, man.
What do you think the urge? I mean, did you have to fight helping that, or was that like the first time that ever happened, first and last, where you see something happen, you want to help them, but you know you can't. You got to let them,
Something
fly through the
like that.
fire.
Yeah, that was the only time like that. There's other times where they're struggling to put their weapon together, and you're just like, I just want to fucking get out of here. But no, you got to make sure they know how to do it.
Like dummy that goes there.
Yeah, they're putting their bolt in backwards. It's always that, trying to shove it in the wrong way.
You're watching, and you're like, if it's not going that way, can only just
For the night fire with the nods. It's late at night. You just want to go home. All right. You spent 2 hours waiting for it to get dark. So they don't even get trained on it. You're just like, you see the arrow, you see the laser. All right, just shoot. Just look at the laser and shoot. And they always want to aim through their scope. So it kicks back on the rhino mount and it just knocks the nods off. It's just, they get zero. I hate to say it, they don't get much training on that. You're just like, see the laser, point and shoot. Good, go.
You guys go. We can go home. Let's go.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing to teach in drill sergeant school?
Favorite thing to
Or
teach?
what part of it did you like take them through the most?
I like DNC because I knew like the dumb cadences. So like if you take them around the other side, so you're walking in front of a battalion, you could do the stupid cadences with them. Or when you're running in the mornings, you're just with yourselves and nobody can hear anything. So you can do like, I'm not saying like the dirty band.
Yeah. Everybody's like, come on.
Yeah.
What's your favorite cadence on?
I don't know. Probably. They're
Is it the
They're
Kirby
so
cadence
dumb.
or whatever?
They're so dumb. One guy had one that we're drill sergeant school.
Did you make up a Kirby one?
No,
That would have been so sweet.
This one guy did one at drill sergeant school. It was just like, it's like, I have a shirt. It says Army. You have a shirt. It says Army too. Army, 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 Army. And it's the whole thing's like that. And I thought that was hilarious. I don't know. They get a kick out of it. We're like, oh, this guy's awesome. He does all the cool stuff.
So you didn't learn any dirty cadences? What you're telling me that?
No, I did.
Okay, that's what I thought.
To do them.
I feel like if you went back to the days of some of them, you're like, whoa, those
There was
are...
like borderline ones, like my girl don't raise a fuss. She's ghetto fabulous.
Oh.
I'd do anything to keep her in style. Like she has long dark hair. It's a weave, but I don't care.
There's some, I feel like they've kind of stepped up the game because I feel like for a long time it was like just 10. Like you get like a CD. I remember like getting ready to go to advanced camp. There's like a cadence CD that you had to memorize, and like if you went off that, you're like, oh, this guy's like, Dr. Dre with his his cadences. You're like, I did not have that. You do the normal one, just C-130 rolling down the strip. That's a classic. So you wouldn't know about that being not airborne, but Jen told me to harass you about that. She really didn't know, but I'm gonna though. I'm gonna blame it on her. So you guys moved to Rhode Island. You guys are there. I didn't realize there was even a civil affairs unit there.
Newport Naval Station is there. It's where the Naval War College is. It's where NAPS is. It's like the prep school for kids who almost got into Annapolis. Go to NAPS. So they go there for a year to earn their chance to go to Annapolis. But yeah, there's a reserve building there. Drill sergeant unit was in there. That's where I started for the first year, and then switched over to CA.
So what made you decide to do the switch over?
I was done with watching her do it all those years. It was just like it just felt right. And then on my deployment, we did a lot of work with the Iraqi army. A lot of work with the MIT teams, the PRC teams. Just being engineers, they would just like, hey, can you guys come work with us, do this job, with the Iraqi army. So it just felt like a right move for me. It was what I enjoyed doing on deployment. It was just, going out and working with with the host nation and stuff. So, and then it felt like a good move. So I made the switch. And I was actually going to go airborne. Then I blew out my meniscus after jiu-jitsu. It's like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
I can't. You're the second person that came on whenever they talk about combatives or jiu-jitsu. It's like, yeah, I was doing this, but now I can't do that because of
yeah.
But back to jiu-jitsu. You started what year? You said Carson, right? Time frame?
No, well, that's when I was doing combative.
Okay.
Carson, did him a little bit at Bragg. Started jiu-jitsu at Rhode Island because it was just like, all right, there's a school here. I have a job. We can afford it.
So what drew you to it?
I don't know, just the athletic aspect of it, the one-on-one style of it. It's kind of like, I grew up loving baseball, and that's more of a game of skill than it is a, big physical sport like football or something like to me, baseball is a game of skill. It's a lot of it is just an individual based performance thing. So jiu-jitsu is kind of like that. It's a lot of what you know and what you can do. So.
Did you take to it fast or?
I did. I took it real fast. It was like me and two other guys started at this school at the same time. The instructor there was an ex-SEAL. Fell in love with him. It's almost 40 years old.
Whoa, Jen.
Almost 40 years old. It's just like.
It's a little old for me, but it was working.
It felt weird. It's like you're almost 40 years old, and then here's this guy that you idolize. You find this mentor at this age of your life.
Well, what was it? What was about him that? What made you feel that way about him?
I don't know. It was just the way he carried himself, the way he taught, the way he led. The community at the school was great. It didn't feel cliquey at all. It just felt like this community, this brotherhood, and it was perfect. I loved it. So fell in love right away. Got addicted to it really fast. Wanted to be as good as possible, as fast as possible. A lot of people fall into that. They want to learn too much too fast. But yeah, it was just great mentally. You're with this community. A lot of people are military, ex-military. You just get your physical exercise in. It was good. You're learning. You're moving your brain. You're working. So
what did the family think about your hobby?
They supported it. I got my daughter into it. She took to it right away. Loved it. So she doesn't do it anymore now. She had a knee injury, and then she's busy she found other activities that she liked, which is fine. She just like I started when I was 38. So it's always going to be there if she wants to go back to it. So
what belt does she make it up to?
Orange. It's a kid's belt.
And correct me if you're wrong. Jiu-jitsu is kind of a weird thing. There's no test for it. Explain how the belt process works.
It depends on the school. Every school is different. Some organizations have a test. They want you to belt test. I don't believe in that personally. I think that's just memorizing moves. It's fine if you want to help teach us moves. That's fine. That's one thing. But saying you're ready for the belt because you memorize these moves is different to me. A lot of schools do what they call stripes, which is a piece of tape. So you getting evaluated on your attendance, your time on the mats is what matters the most. So if you make the attendance, you're showing progress, they'll stripe you. And after 4 stripes, then you're ready for your next belt. That's the way most schools do it. For me, I think it's a way to keep people motivated. It's a good motivational tool, especially for white belts, for kids. My first school was not like that at all. He said, if you need a piece of tape to keep coming to class, then go do fucking karate. So
you want to roll around and get beat to shit, no. So, how many hours a day starting off? I mean, for jiu-jitsu, you're getting into like a week as you like throwing yourself into it.
I'd say 2 hours a day, 3 times a week.
Okay.
For me, being older, injured, family obligations, stuff like that. There's young guys that go every day, And then those first few years, I did not like missing practice. Like, it's just like 3 times a week is what I want. That's my goal. So I would try to find ways to fit that in, even if I had to miss a night and go a different night. It's one of those routines. You get a routine. You're like, these are the nights I want to go. These are my jiu-jitsu nights. And then one day one morning on the weekend is what it was. COVID hit, interrupted that. I took the year off. Some people didn't. No judgment or anything like that. Just I did. I took the year off. The school I was at ended up closing down. I put a lot into that school at the time. General Mike Farrader. Do you know who he is?
I know the name for some reason. What?
He's the CEO of Veterans Memorial.
Okay.
He runs a jiu-jitsu program there. The gym I was at in Washington was his gym. So I met him a few times, because he had already taken the position here when we moved there. But I think his wife's from Puyallup, Washington, Tacoma. So, and he was still affiliated with that school. So I met him a handful of times there. But that school ended up closing down. And then, so I switched, found a different school. I approach it differently now. I don't take it as serious, but I still do it. Still love it.
How many hours a week now?
4, sometimes it's less, I might take a night off just for other things or just because I don't feel like it. I don't take it as serious. It's more of a hobby right now than it is, just a way of life for me, which is fine. It's just the way I choose to approach it now.
So is it more of a, I mean, what do you like? What's it like for you on the mat? Is that your time to just let it all go, or is it? What's going on the mat when you're going there?
I'm just trying to figure out new things mostly. Working what I know works and trying out different things and just hanging out with friends. And it's a community. I like coaching, especially the kids. I go in, I show up early and help coach the kids class before the adults class starts. I go to tournaments and help coach there. We'll be at the Arnold Classic, huge tournament there. So
how young are the kids starting now, jiu-jitsu?
How young are the kids? 4 or 5. I mean, they start young. It's a sport now. It's a sport, especially, it's weird because Ohio is like, just throw your kids into wrestling, man. You're not, it's probably cheaper. Just throw them into wrestling, but it's pretty popular for the kids.
I never thought that, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the little kids are rougher. You gotta kind of separate them. It's more of like a tumbling class at that point.
Right.
You're a lot of wrangling. It's a lot of wrangling. They lose attention real fast. You got to keep it fun, keep it moving. Yeah.
Just for you, it's like whenever you I gotta see this now because whenever you watch like young kids wrestle, like the 4 or 5-year-old kids, it's so funny. It seems like there's always one kid that's way more into it than the other. And they're just like so intense, and this other kid's like, "Oh God, the only reason I want to be here is because I didn't want to be here. My parents are making me do this." You feel so bad for the one kid. I mean, because the one kid's like so like amped up to it, you're like, "Oh, dude." I mean,
it's a lot of I grab you, we fall down.
So brown belt now?
Brown belt now.
Any aspirations get your black belt?
Yeah, of course. I put a lot of time and effort into it.
The schoolhouse is like, you need to come more than 4 hours a week.
Oh yeah, he bugs me a lot. He bugs me a lot. Just like, well, if you get in here more, you be more flexible.
So as you're getting older, is it getting harder?
Yes, definitely. Definitely my back hurts. It's like I don't know. Sometimes it's a lot. He's like, get in here more. And it's like, dude, you go walk around the desert every day with the kid on. You fucking see how your back does.
So what's the oldest person in your gym?
Me at this gym. This gym's me. I've seen an old lady, like gray hair, can't see, very fragile old lady do it. I've seen her train in Washington. She still trains, I think.
Well, I'm gonna have to bring my friend sending out of Kentucky, Tony. One of my classmates, I was telling you, I think he just made black belt at 51 or 52 years old.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. You're like a baby now. I mean,
Baby?
No, I'm kidding. No, I mean 46 isn't. You said 46 tomorrow.
46 tomorrow. I don't feel like a baby.
Except for when you're
I
wrestling.
feel like I got to start shaving my head because
Oh.
doing the whole comb over
Jen will
thing.
let you know when that happens. She'll tell you soon. She'll just listen to her. So we talked a little bit before we get back into the military career. Let's. You ready to go for our second featured whiskey? You ready for another pour?
Yeah.
You sure?
Absolutely.
We'll do it. All right, we're gonna keep on the trend. The last civil affairs person from the unit brought 4 roses,
Okay.
but we're gonna step it up. We're gonna go to barrel proof this time. We had the normal 100 proof last time. So 4 roses, pretty well known distillery in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. It was built in 1970. It has some of the most unique Spanish mission architecture. If you go there, it's really cool. Some of the buildings totally beautiful. It's actually registered on the National Historic Site. It was originally called the Old Prentice Distillery and was owned by GTS Brown. 4 Roses brand was purchased by Seagram's in 1943, and by the end of the 1950s, Seagram discontinued all of 4 Roses sales within the United States and started sending everything to Europe and Asia. Meanwhile, that was actually the normal whiskey. Meanwhile, 4 Roses got a really bad name here in the States. They were using a lot of blended whiskey, mostly made with neutral grain spirits. It's not what you know today, but the straight bourbon continued to be unavailable until about the mid 1990s, and then 1999, 4 Roses was sold to Benetti Universal, then to Pernod Ricard, and then Diageo in 2001, and they started bringing all that stuff back here and focusing back in the United States. So they have 2 different mash bills, 5 different yeast strains. We're not going to go into all those. This has been one of my biggest. The guys behind are laughing about. We could talk about the mash bills and all this stuff forever. We're not going to go into that, but we do know that they have 2 mash bills, 5 different yeast strains. They can create 10 different unique bourbon recipes. We're going to go tonight with OBSO, which is the high rye B mash bill. 30, which is 35% rye, and the fruit forward O yeast strain. These barrel strains can get released at the distillery. The one we're going to have is actually from the distillery, where you can do private barrel picks. They're very limited, but today we're going to do, like I said, the OBSO. This recipe is 108.8 proof, 10 years and 9 months, so a little bit older than the one we just had. And this mash bill is 10% or 60% corn, 35% rye, and 5% malted barley. So you for a roses guy at all?
No, not really.
Really?
I mean, not by choice or anything. Have
I
you ever
like it.
tried to go through all the different recipes and combos?
It's one of we have a kit. There's one thing. There's a kit that they sold that's over there. I mean, over the time I've had them all, but like 4 Roses is one of those things like I shied away from for a long time just because of, like, it gets really nerdy really fast.
Yeah.
So people will talk about one of the things you can't see here, but they talk about. We have the mash bill, then you have the yeast strand, then you have the tier where it was at. I personally think any 4 Roses barrel strength is pretty good.
Yeah.
It was really good at $79.99, but the prices have went up. But yeah, there's some people that can get really, really nerdy into this, but we're trying to avoid that. But I think I've had them all. I've had them all by now. But they do sell a kit now if you go to the distillery.
Oh, really?
It's not in the barrel strength, but it has every mash. It has every mash bill. So not a lot of. What's the most? I always forget. There's what the most.
OBSO?
Oh, what's the most?
OESV.
OBSV?
OBSV is
OBSV?
Yeah, that's the most rare.
OESO is the most rare.
Here you go. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
What's cool is like they really ramped up production now. Or not ramped up, but the availability is a better way to say it. You can pretty much go to the distillery on a daily basis and pick up a bottle. Used to be all these guys are jonesing for that. Pass that to this everybody on the side. They're waiting for that. So it's definitely fruity. I'm kidding.
That's good. I like the higher rye.
We're going like yeah, but like 4 Roses, like this is one I've been avoiding doing because there's like groups that's all they talk about is what tier, what recipe, and
Yeah.
I like them all actually. It's like I said, for the only unfortunate thing, like a lot of bourbon, it's gotten the prices went up, and now the price is a little $100 is a little much. I'm trying to keep my bottle count below 500, so it's That's crazy. So, have you ever had one of the barrel strings before?
No,
Oh wow, cool. Glad you enjoyed that.
I do like that.
Now we'll get you on a new one now. So you guys were down in Rhode Island, make another PCS.
Washington.
Head out to Fort Lewis.
Yep. Long drive, coast to coast.
2 kids.
2 kids, 2 dogs, 2 cats.
Wow.
Long trip.
How many hours?
We made a lot. We made a trip out of it. Like we did Yellowstone and Mall of America.
I've never been to Mall America.
The president's
Not Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
Okay. That's a cool one. I've never seen that either. How was that?
It's neat to see.
I mean, when you're there with your wife, 2 kids, 2 cats, 2 dogs, you're kind of like,
Yeah, it was neat to see. That part of the country is different, so it's cool to see that. Yellowstone was something I always wanted to go do. Then we all got sick on the last day.
But so you head out to Fort Lewis. What'd you think of Fort Lewis?
Did not like Washington. Lewis is all right, just not Washington people at all. But like the unit there. We got.
So you and Jen at the same civil affairs unit at that time? Okay.
Same unit.
So she's active, or you? Or
She's AGR.
Okay.
She was the operations NCO for the unit. So she's on battalion.
Is she constantly giving you shit about not being airborne and stuff, or no? Does she ever give you shit about
Wasn't
that?
even an airborne unit. She didn't jump anymore.
Oh wow, they just She's
Not, that's
she's just like, you better check yourself, Dan. I can't jump if I have to. No.
Yeah.
I feel like she's got to give you shit, bro. I mean, it's the neat thing. I get it, but I feel like she's still
She
giving
gives me
you
shit in front of other people.
What's that?
She gives me shit in front of her.
Does she?
It's a funny joke. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. I can appreciate that.
Everybody gets a kick out of that. So it's like
You give
you're
her
doing
knife-
right
You
now.
give her the knife hand, like all
No.
this kind of. That's your guys' way of flirting. No.
Yeah.
So you got there. Kids are getting older at that stage.
Yeah, they're both in high school out there. Well, yeah, my daughter ended up getting into high school while we were out there. So they're both in high school. Son graduates there. Spent 3 years in a little town outside of Tacoma called Puyallup. Food in Washington's great. Like the food. It's just a different world. Just didn't get along with the weather, the traffic. The culture is a little different. Just being Midwest people. The mountains are great. It just takes forever to get to them because of the traffic.
Yeah. So what was it like for the family? I mean, we haven't talked about this a lot, but I'm a military brat, Army brat.
Okay.
So, and I've moved my kids. So what was it like moving the kids while they're in high school? What was
Hard.
What did you? Yeah,
It's hard.
we haven't talked
Especially-
about it with many people on the podcast.
So Rhode Island, the schools are great. Our son's on the spectrum, and he was struggling in North Carolina. Rhode Island was like a blessing. Like he flourished there. School system was great. We had a good support system set up there. So it was hard pulling him out of that. My daughter, she has a hard time every time we move somewhere. It takes her a while to adjust and start making friends. The internet's helped a lot with that. It's kind of weird. Our son is still friends with kids that he met during our time in Fayetteville. They still play video games together. One's actually wants to move up here, and they're going to get an apartment. His roommate right now is from Washington. So, but yeah, it's just pulling them out and moving them. It's tough on them. And
It's tough on you too. I mean, if you're,
yeah,
I can't lie. I moved my oldest son here when he was a freshman, and everybody was younger. But yeah, you think about it, and you're kind of like, it's no big deal, and then it really is. I mean, when it's tough on the kids, but there's also part of your heart because they have friends and they have and it's easy to say like, oh, you'll meet new friends, but it's really difficult,
Yeah, it
But,
is. For me, I was lucky enough. My job I can do anywhere. So I started, instead of taking 6 months to find a new job every time we PCS, starting in Rhode Island, they were like, yeah, just tell us when you get there and get set up and you can start working. And so it just, ever since that move, I've just always been remote, work from home. So it's gotten easier on me. The kids.
So what are you doing now? Doing that?
I'm a real estate paralegal. I do title examinations for an attorney in Boston. So pretty much all of Massachusetts, I do title searches.
You got all the Massachusetts city line going down like Worcester and all that. You got all.
It hurts my brain because it's spelled Worcester, but it's pronounced Worcester.
Worcester.
When we were there, we have a friend whose family has a beach house in Gloucester. And we would go there for 4th of July's. I'd go to the gym and be like, yeah, we went to Gloucester. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? Where do you mean? Like, up there in Essex County, you mean Gloucester? Like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, we're at the school in Vermont. Like, I think 90% of them all are from Massachusetts. It seems like, but and then my favorite thing about it is none of the pronunciation is this. It looks like it's spelled, and then everybody talks about how far they're from Boston. Like, if you're like, like there's no like I'm from Worcester. It's an hour. Like, I mean, everything geographically they got to tell you how far it is from Boston. I'm like, I don't give a fuck where like, but and I just saw something on TikTok where they were pulling names of like Gloucester and Worcester and all that, and it's just funny to.
Yeah, I love Vermont. Vermont's great.
My experience wasn't that great.
No.
I've only been back twice since 1994. It's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. Yeah, but I mean, it's a.
We did a range at Ethan Allen.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it. I was like, this place is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, but then again, when you're going to military college in the middle of Vermont.
I wanted to go to Norwich. That didn't happen.
maybe that's a good thing. No, I'm kidding. 46. What year you graduated in 96?
96.
No, I was going 94. If you went then, it would be easy.
Really?
Like after 94, isn't that anytime you ever talk about anything, especially in military schools, it's like you go up there and you're like, I'm going back to my 30-year anniversary this September, and but I went back for my 25th, and definitely the school has changed. We'll just say that way.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff, but that's one of the things you always talk about.
We'd love that.
Don't get me wrong. Vermont is beautiful. People are. I mean, it's an interesting place. It's not. I mean, I couldn't live there. It's a nice place to visit.
Yeah.
But
we just
definitely not.
A buddy of mine describes it as hippies with guns. That's the way he describes Vermont.
I mean, it's like it's super rural.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of people there. It's just. I mean, I still have flashbacks. So like we always talk about that. Like 30 years later, when I go back. This September, when you get to a certain point, you start stressing out, like you're waiting to come down the mountain, and like someone's gonna be yelling at you, and you're like, "I'm a man, I'm a 51-year-old man. Nobody can tell me what to do." And then somebody does tell you what to do eventually. But you really want to? How'd you learn about Norwich being from Ohio? That's kind of interesting.
I think I got a packet in the mail when I was in high school. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah,
I got a teacher write a recommendation for it and everything.
I did it because I was not smart enough to get into West Point. So it's like, and I lived at West Point, so you had to look at other options. You're like, thought about the Citadel, but those guys seem like not good guys. But no, it was interesting. It was like it wasn't a well-known school. I mean, at the time, like an understanding about it, but then when you graduate and you learn about the history of it, you're kind of like, holy cow! There's a lot of home ROTC, fun stuff like that. So you didn't like Fort Lewis? You there for a little bit.
We didn't like Washington. I would say that. Didn't like Washington. Didn't click with us, which is, I mean, people love it there. Like I got a guy I met through jiu-jitsu from Ohio, knows a bunch of my family. He loves it there. Like he's like, I don't know how you can love Ohio. He loves it there.
I mean, Ohio, I never thought 10 years ago I'd like Ohio, but I do like Ohio. Central Ohio is nice. I mean, it's got the seasons. Nice, really nice people for the most part.
Yeah.
A lot of diversity, a lot of different things going on.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up here. I know where I like to go and what I like to do. It's changed a little bit since we left. We were gone almost 12 years, but I still like it here.
So was always the goal to come back here?
It was our fallback plan.
Jen's over there going, no.
It was our fallback. No. It was like our cheap option at the time, and then now it's not the cheap option anymore. But yeah. So we moved back a year and a half ago.
So before you go out there, but while you're out there, that's where you go to you go to a couple of the schools, become
reclass,
get your E7,
officially reclassed there. Okay. Did ALC, did it virtual because it was during COVID, and then Very next year did SLC. So knocked all that out within like less than 2 years. So officially civil affairs team sergeant.
So civil affairs, did you have to go to the selections process as well?
No, that's active duty only.
Okay.
The active duty is a lot different.
Okay.
Ball of wax. Reserve civil affairs is good because it incorporates your civilian experiences and jobs into what you're doing as a civil affairs soldier, I guess. So that's why they have the reserve component. I think it used to be just reserve component. I'm not wrong. But the active duty component, they do selection. They go to language school as mandatory. We can still do language school now. But for them, it's mandatory, just like SF is.
Right.
They're more on the, soft side of things, and definitely than we are.
So you had back here last year, or 2002? I forget the 2024 now, but
22.
2022.
Yeah.
I think the first time I started talking to you, I was trying to hit you up. You were going back and forth to
Yeah,
okay.
I spent the first year going back to Lewis because our company got selected for JPMRC Alaska, which is NTC or JRTC, but they do one in Alaska in the snow and do one in Hawaii for the jungle, for the tropics. So it's NTC, but in the snow is what we got to do. I wanted to do it, wanted to go to Alaska with my company and my team. So I kept flying back every month for a year to go do that. So did Alaska last year. Different experience. So it was glad I went though. Got to experience Alaska in the cold, interior of Alaska in the winter. It's no joke. So
I've always wanted to go to Alaska.
Yeah.
I heard that's beautiful, but yeah, not in the dead winter. And
it was still fun. We went dog sledding. Went to the hot springs one day. I think it was one of our last days there. Went to the hot springs. Don't recommend doing that with a bunch of dudes, but it's more of a thing you do with your significant other. It was still fun to go do.
it was an experience though. That's all it's about is experiences. So you guys come back here. You're now you were in the same unit since your spouse
Since Rhode Island.
your significant other, your airborne mama. She's on terminal leave now.
She is.
So you're still in.
Now I'm all by myself trying to.
Well, that's good. She's not making fun of you at drill though. Like
Yeah, I got to figure everything out by myself.
So I mean, what's it like having? I mean, honestly, like military wise, what's it like having? She's there every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you come in on the weekends. That people give you shit about that, like and fun stuff, or like
They do a little bit. There's a part of it where I get the inside scoop on a lot of things that maybe I should know about sometimes, or sometimes I'm able, like, it helps on the company level when we're doing calls or sending out messages or whatever that I'm able to say, hey, no, this is really what's going on here.
I talked to Jen and she said this is not happening.
Instead of speculating like you guys are doing, this is really what the word is.
Whatever's going on in that thread is bullshit. Let me tell you the real deal. So I mean, because you got to get hit up by people too, because they know like your wife's got the goods. They're always like
a little bit,
like the Citadel cadet coming up to you, like I know
they do a little bit, but she's pretty open. They're more than comfortable to go to her for stuff too, so that's not a problem really. But it helps, I knowing she's there, what she's willing to do for soldiers. Especially newer soldiers, be like, no, you go talk to Sergeant Skunza, Master Sergeant Skunza, and she'll help you out. So
you're gonna write it out so you can at least be the same rank, or is that the goal, or what?
Not really the goal. I don't know.
Airborne school. You got some time now. She's retiring, right? We're terminal leave now. Now's your chance to go to airborne school.
I don't think I could do airborne.
I wouldn't recommend it at 46. That'd be like some painful shit.
Meniscus are torn in both knees. My back's messed up. I don't think I could do it. I don't even know if I could pass the physical. But no, I can retire in November if I want. I'm still trying to decide on that.
You talked about that. You talked about your goal is you want to deploy
Yeah, I
civil
want to do a
affairs
civil affairs mission one time. I don't. So there's one coming up in the next year and a half that I'm considering doing because I like the job. I want to be able to go do the job and experience it as it is, at least one time. So
Yeah, I thought we were talking about this before. I thought Jen would be like putting the kibosh on it. She's talking about go to be 9 months, peace and quiet. Kids are gone, so
yeah,
it's already locked in. So I don't think you have a choice. That's what you're doing. So
son's graduated. He's moved out.
what's he doing?
He's just kind of working, trying to figure it out. He went to school for one semester, decided he wanted to bake, decided that kind of wasn't for him. So he's debating cybersecurity a little bit, maybe business. I think what he really wants to do is open a coffee shop.
A good coffee shop is legit.
Yeah. So my daughter, she graduates this spring.
As long as they don't do, they have to do traditional sizes, not like Starbucks. That's small, medium, large.
Just make it up.
There's nothing like Starbucks. It's like, will stress me. I still can't even, it stresses you out. Like, I don't know, like, why can't you call it medium? Like, it's like a normal.
I just say medium.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. That's true. That's a good point.
They know what you mean. So, yeah, my daughter graduates in May. She's going to go to University of Maine back in New England, which is where we were supposed to be. Like, that's actually, we weren't supposed to PCS to Columbus. We were supposed to PCS to Maine. We're happy about it, excited about it. That's where we want to retire, like legit want to retire there. But that didn't work out. So we ended up choosing to come back to our family for at least a few years. So she'll be gone.
Maybe Jen will move to Maine while you're on the deployment.
Probably will. We have like 100 chickens.
You'll come back. There'll be no how. Where are the chickens? Where's everybody? Mom left. She's in Maine.
50 goats and 100 chickens.
Maine? What's drew you guys to Maine?
Just rural New England.
Okay.
You get the ocean and the mountains.
See, New England, the one thing that ruins New England for me, Massachusetts. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like the people, like my brother-in-law lives in Massachusetts. My sister-in-law is from Mass. I hate everybody. I hate the Patriots.
Yeah.
I hate that stupid ass Dunkin' Donuts commercial.
I don't like Dunkin's.
So
do you like Dunkin's?
Dunkin' Donuts is legit. I grew up. I'm old school New York, so Dunkin' Donuts was cool, but like, the commercial was a little much. But as much as I hate those guys, I actually did like the commercial. But
the coffee shit, I don't.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, but coffee shops. If your son opens a coffee shop, let's talk about coffee shops, because I think I have a problem with coffee shops in the aspect that I like to make my coffee like my own way. Like I don't even like when my wife does it, because I just have if it's like too much cream, or it's too little, it ruins your day. To start off in the thing, and then like I feel like all coffee shops now, you get it's not even coffee. It's like whipped cream, flavoring. Like there's this much coffee in it, and you're like. And it's $19. You're like, whoa.
No, I just drink black coffee. I don't drink.
But I mean, black coffee at a coffee shop is like
$4, $5.
So is your son big into coffee?
My son, no.
So how does he want to open a coffee shop? Oh, we got to talk to this kid.
They wanted to do the original idea was a coffee shop, bakery / bookstore.
Ooh,
that was the original, like a small Barnes and Noble. That was the original idea.
You're like son that it was Barnes and Noble. They're not around anymore.
Yeah. No, it's still around. They love Barnes and Noble. Shit.
That's not a joke. I mean, that was like you would take your kids there. They'd have the readings and the toys.
They love, even today. They still love going to Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, I remember one of the biggest meltdowns my oldest son ever had was that I can remember was at Barnes and Noble. It's like that's. But I mean, what you read books all?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you prefer reading a book or like tablet?
Reading. I don't even know the tablet.
What book you reading right now?
Dark Forest. It's the second book of Three Body Problem. It's a science fiction Chinese author. It's going to be a Netflix show in April, I think. So I'm trying to read them before. I didn't know they were making a show out of it. So I'm trying to get through them before the show comes out.
So what do you read normally? Just sci-fi stuff or a little bit of
No, a little bit of everything. I like Cormac McCarthy, probably my favorite. Which is a typical guy thing, I guess. Blood Meridian.
Yeah. I feel like the book is I love Clancy stuff. Tom Clancy's always been like good. Clancy book is always is great. Then the movies come out and they suck.
Yeah.
You're gonna be so upset when the series comes out. You're like, but sci-fi. I've never been able to get into sci-fi.
Really?
Never been a sci-fi guy.
Yeah, I'm not-
I know Beam Me Up, Scotty, but I'm like,
Yeah.
other than that, I'm kind of like, I don't know.
I'm not a big nerd into it, but I think I lean that way a little more. I don't know. I mean, I got an English degree, so I've read pretty much everything.
What's your favorite
Every
book? Then?
genre.
Favorite book?
Favorite book? I mean, it used to be On the Road when I was young. I think that's a good American young man book. I like the Dark Tower series a lot, which is a little nerdy, little young, but and fantasy. So, but yeah, that's probably my favorite series.
Since we're talking about books,
Okay.
reading, you read a lot.
Not
if
really.
You could write, if you could write any book on any subject, what would it be?
Any subject?
Yeah.
I like realism.
Yeah.
Creative nonfiction focused on a small group of people in a small area. That's probably even TV shows. That's my favorite type of TV, like The Wire type of thing. Just small focus on one specific area and group. So subject wise, I'm not really sure. I don't know how to
What
answer.
do you feel like you read a book about? You couldn't throw it on jujitsu? Read a book on jujitsu?
No. I feel like it'd be cheesy.
What about being a dual?
Yeah, I've written a
dual,
short story about that.
Dual military.
I wrote a short story about that for college. Yeah, but pretty much me, stay at home dad. His wife was deployed and comes home.
Leaves me alone. It's dark. Leaves me
I got
alone.
into college.
She has all these badges and patches that I don't have. Whenever we go to work, she makes fun of me. What do I do? No, I'm kidding.
I got it published in the college literary magazine. That's
No, let's talk about that. One of the things I did want to hit on is because I think it is important. Like we talked about, you're here. You have followed around Jen in her career. You've done some stuff. Like you've been doing a lot of I had it written down. You had some to it. You were a Kirby salesman, a lifeguard. You worked at the gym. You painted. You were a bouncer. You were a construction worker. You were doing you were studying a lot, which I thought is interesting when you talk about your first college experience, always trying to learn. But you've I mean, and not in a bad way. You've been an Army spouse a little bit. You've been following Jen around and doing that. What has been the biggest struggle about doing that?
It takes longer to accomplish some of your goals. Like school, I jumped around to a lot of schools. Columbus State, then Pikes Peak Community College, Colorado State, and then I think back to Ohio State was where I finally finished. So that takes a little longer. Finding new jobs, even the military career, you kind of gets in the way of that a little bit sometimes as a reservist. That's mainly, it takes a little longer to reach your goals, but can't really complain about that, I guess, because she's doing.
You
that.
can't complain about it. It's okay. I'll joke aside. This is your chance to. I mean, because the idea of like towards the Patriots, honestly, tell a story because it is difficult. I mean, in a dual military family, one military member is going to be the one who's you're following. That's the way it is. That's just how it goes, and you see it all the time. There's one person that is kind of and not in a bad way is kind of getting the short end of the stick or eating the shit sandwich sometimes. And it's not easy because you have your goals as whether it's the man or the woman, and you're not the only person I've ever heard talk about this, but you're the first we've had on the podcast. It is difficult to have your own personal goals. She'll forgive you. So be honest.
Best example, and this is all right.
This is what we're trying to do here to be real. This is
so Rhode Island. I get accepted to law school. Roger Williams Law School. Put it off the first year because there was just conflicts with, other obligations. Put it off the first year. Second year I'm supposed to go. They upped the scholarship. I think it was 60%. So I'm supposed to go to law school. She gets PCS orders to Washington. So then that pretty much kills law school, right? to tie it in with everything, when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I feel great, feeling good. Mental health wise, it was a huge effect on me. And having that community, that exercise, just everything that went along with it. And so I kind of stop a lot of things as far as mental health goes because I'm feeling good, feel like I don't need these things. Life's progressing the way I wanted to. Law school's a long term. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to play baseball or be a lawyer. Those are the two things I wanted to do. Then she gets PCS orders and I can't go. And I feel like that was my chance to do my part for the family. And I feel like I've let the family down. And I come to her, we're getting close to moving. I come to her and I break down. I just lose it. Like, sorry, I've let you down. I didn't do it. This is what I meant to do. I didn't blame her at all for it. I felt like it was just me maybe taking too long to get to that point where I was ready to go. But yeah, I just felt awful. It was just like, all right, I've set aside all this behavioral health stuff. And then now when I need it, I haven't been doing it. So I have a real big panic moment and go back to my doctor and talk to her about it. She's like, yeah, exercise works until it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, as far as following her career around, that's probably the biggest example I have of that. And then I just kind of lost the desire to go after that. Washington would have been too difficult. Trying to go up to Seattle there was just no way doing it there, and just kind of lost the desire to go after that. I feel I'm comfortable with where I'm at, so maybe I'll change again and want to go. It's just, grad school is one of those things where it's always going to be there.
All right. So now, if you're talking to another dual spouse service member, they're listening, male or female, like what advice would you give them? Now that you've been doing this for 20 some years, I feel like you've got to be flexible. That's what I'd say, right?
Flexible, yeah.
You got to communicate. No, I'm kidding.
Just hitting all the buzzwords.
I'm trying to help you there. No, I'm looking around. I feel like Jen is like eyeballing me hard. She's like,
just know that you're contributing, I guess. Even if you feel small, you're still, even if you're just, you're doing stuff with the kids, it still matters. That was, I could do the appointments. She didn't have to worry about that most of the time, you're still doing your part to go along with it. And just find what gets you out of the house and makes you feel important as well. Not just for them, but for yourself. Find what makes you feel important and meaningful in your life. I think is a big thing.
so with you got mom as the main military member.
Mm-hmm.
You're the stay-home dad a lot of the times. Who do the kids come to now, mom or dad?
My son's definitely her.
That's normal.
He's definitely her. My daughter, she's even split. My daughter and I have a great relationship. My son and I have a good relationship too, but he's just not open with me like he is with her. We had that father-son clash through a good few years there.
What's he? How old is he? 22? 22?
He's 21. He'll be
Okay.
22 this fall.
Okay. That's normal.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, think about when you were 22. You didn't like. Your dad didn't know shit.
It's like some nights I'm like,
You're like, why the hell won't he give me money to go to school? No, I'm kidding. No, like I still think my dad is.
My dad.
I think my dad doesn't know what he's talking about either, and he's 75. No.
My dad was, when I was little, when I was a kid, I thought he was crazy. My dad was field artillery in Vietnam, and I didn't know if he was just PTSD'd out sometimes.
Is he still around?
Oh yeah, he's still around. He's still kicking and just retired. He's got his rental property he's consumed with, and he still tries to do everything himself. It's kind of funny. So,
does he talk a lot about Vietnam or
no? I try to get him to, just to hear his stories, and he likes to compare what my experience was like to his. Like I remember being over in Iraq, and he'd be like, "You guys can you guys have a beer here and there? And I'm like, no, we're not allowed to drink at all. And he laughed. I'm like, what? He's like, we had pallets of beer. I've never seen my dad
So happy.
I've never seen him drink more than a beer my whole life, but here he is bragging how they had pallets of beer in Vietnam.
He's laughing at you. My dad and I always had that conversation when you like when I can't remember what age it was, but I found this book of all this his Vietnam scrapbook.
Yeah.
And you look through it and you're like,
Yeah,
whoa, what's going on? And it's
naked dudes.
it's naked women, guns, just partying, and you're like, whoa. Was I supposed to find this? And then like, no, but you talked to him about that. I'm like, he's the same way. It's like, oh, we had hash over here. We had beer. Like, what are you talking about? What, you guys didn't have beer? What? No, yeah. And the same way, I feel like my dad is like, I don't see him if he's not here to the podcast, but he drinks like, one Shiner Bock and he's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a different time. So, so you talked a little bit about depression or like a little anxiety. So, any times in your life that it really hit you hard, or that moved from Rhode Island to Fort Lewis, or you think you've suffered from any of it?
Oh yeah, I mean, the culture shock in Colorado definitely was big. Moving from Rhode Island to Lewis, that was a big one. It just it comes and goes. You never know what's going to happen. So just always dealing with the anxiety, really. But you learn to cope with it and deal with it and feel relaxed with it.
So what's your way of coping?
Just jiu-jitsu is a big one. Just being around people, knowing, I forget the words for it, just the stuff you learn through therapy, the coping techniques, things like that. You talk about stuff like stigma, and you were talking about drill sergeants and stuff they go through. And, you got to go through a psych eval just to get into the school. Just to get in the school. Like, they were questionable about me just because we were dual military. It's like, but I'm just a reservist. It's not, I'm not doing this every single day. Or like, well, just because of that. Well, it's like, there's still some stigma there, even in the professional realm of the military, but which is kind of sad, I think.
So what do you think the military has to do to change that?
I think accepted it, it's just part of the lifestyle now, just that's my thought on it anyway. Just, I don't know anybody who's been in for, especially through 2012, maybe, that doesn't deal with it on some level. It's affected everybody in one way or another. It's weird to say that it doesn't.
No, I mean, no one said it that way, but 100% true. I mean, it is definitely, I think anybody that says they're just not, I mean, I'm not trying to, speak for other people, but it's just, they're not really looking into it. But you're right. It's affected us in so many different ways, everything with them. And that's kind of the reason why, the vision of what we're doing here tonight is to be able to sit down and talk about it and get everybody's different point of view and see it's different. But yeah, I think, if you've been in since, 2001 to now, your life's been affected, and it's had some not always positive effects on you and your family and things like that. It's just, you're right. I guess, understanding that it's part of what the culture is. It's one of the bad parts about it.
Yeah.
And to be able to talk about it, I guess, is important.
Yeah. I think, it's getting more open. It's progressing that way. But it's just like my deployment wasn't crazy. We weren't going on raids and stuff like that, but we still had incidents that still affect me. So there's no shame in that either. That's something I've had to deal with. It's thinking, well, I didn't go through what these guys go through. Am I just being a baby about this? But no, there's still, there's still aspects that still, they do affect me either way.
No, I think we've talked about that with other people. Is one of the things I've always said is, whatever my worst day is I can't compare my worst day to what your worst day is to what Josh's worst day is, or Jen's, whatever. Like, your worst day is your worst day. And that's one of the things to remember. Like, you can't compare, I mean, I'm guilty of it too. That's what that's what this environment brings, right? Like if you weren't, a door kicker, operator, then you're not supposed to have problems. You know what? They have a lot of fucking problems, and I have problems too. But that's that. Like I said, it's important to remember that whatever your worst day is, your worst day. I mean, everybody has their limits. We're not all the same. We don't all handle the same things the same way. And just understanding that I think is important.
Yeah, totally agree.
So, anything else we missed?
No,
I didn't give you a lot of shit about graduating from Ohio State. I usually give people a hard time, so I feel like I got to throw that in there. But
that's like my major accomplishment. I was like,
I was
so happy
I refuse to put that picture of you getting your degree just because of my hatred towards Ohio State. Sorry, no, I'm kidding.
I'm like 30 years old, and I insisted to go to graduation so my kids could watch me walk.
It's important, though. I mean, that's a big deal.
Like, if it weren't for my kids, well, maybe.
Come on.
Because it was at the Horseshoe. So.
How many years? What year did you graduate? It was
11.
So that's a
long time.
11-year journey. How many schools?
4. Sounds right.
I would say you fucking deserve to walk across the stage. Put on your garb, get your diploma, smile, because you did look super happy in that picture.
Oh yeah, I was super.
I mean,
I was proud. They didn't get to see it. It was hot as fuck. It was like 100 degrees. Sitting in that stadium, and like, we're gonna go walk. We're gonna go. I'm gonna go show the kids Mirror Lake. Well, text us when they're getting ready to walk. They didn't make it back. My main reason for doing it was to have them see me walk.
But they don't make it. You're like,
yeah.
No, but I think it's important. I think at any level you have to celebrate your accomplishments. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people will be. I mean, it has a lot more. I bet you, I guarantee you, it had a lot more meaning to you than a lot of those kids, and they were sitting there the 4 years. They've been there for 4 years, and you got to make everybody feel the pain for that. So. Anything else we missed? Anything else you want to throw down?
I'd like to bring up Weedify real quick. That's okay. It's an organization for disabled veterans. It's jiu-jitsu based. If you're 80% or more disabled, they will sponsor you and pay for your membership at a Weedify sponsored gym. I think that's just personal. On a personal level, I don't use them or anything, but I think from my experiences, I think that's a great organization. I've been to, just traveling the country and being part of different gyms. I think what they do is pretty great. So,
we'll end with happy. Before we get into it, but happy birthday tomorrow. Okay,
Thank you.
We'll have a drink off. Thanks, Jen. Congratulations on your retirement. We're trying to get her into the seat next.
Okay.
We got to pressure her to get in there. We got some openings coming up, Jen. You're retired. What else are you going to be doing? You're not going to be doing anything else now. Sorry, that's what I got. So, so we're going to transition to the not so great part of Boards with the Patriots tonight. We're going to move into the service to honor one of the service members that unfortunately took their life. Tonight, we're going to honor U.S. Army Sergeant First Class Amy Song Davis, 31 years old. Amy took her life on October 20th, 2019, while stationed at Fort Leavenworth, Missouri. Amy was born on January 21st, 1998, in Clarksville, Tennessee. After graduating from high school, Amy completed basic training and advanced individual training at Fort Leonard, Missouri, and became a military police officer. Amy's assignments include drill sergeant at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, with Alpha Company, 795th Military Police Battalion, and later was a squad leader with the 561st Military Police Company, 767th Military Police Battalion. Amy had an infectious personality, loved her job, fishing, and was an avid Jack Daniels collector. Amy was a devoted daughter, sister, and friend who had a positive influence and presence on all that she met. She is survived by her parents, Ernest and Misop, brother Michael, Christy, paternal grandparents, E.W. and Pearl, maternal grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Song of South Korea, and her fur baby, Benson. If you or someone you know is in crisis and might be considering suicide, please contact the Veterans Crisis Hotline at 988 or 1-800-273-8255 and press 1, or you can text 838-255, or you can now chat online at veteranscrisisline.net/chat. I want to thank you for coming on for episode 50. It took a long time to get you here. I got to look back at our chat to figure out how long. I got to thank, actually, Kevin, because he's the one that pushed you to get you here.
Yeah,
And he promised you beer, and this was a great moment. How long has it been since you guys seen each other?
26 years.
Yeah.
26 years. There's like memories are happening down here. We're gonna have some good drinks after that. We'll end it with a quote.
Okay.
We have to go jujitsu quote.
Okay.
I mean, did you know that was coming?
No, I didn't know
Come
that was
on.
coming.
No, I'm kidding. We've been hiding because people have been sneaking the quotes, some of the guests before. So we're going to go with a quote from Ricardo Almeida. So jiu-jitsu and the martial arts do not build character, they reveal it. We are all born with unmeasurable courage and determination, but it is as we go through the trials of rigorous training that we rediscover those gifts. Have you heard that quote before?
I think so, yeah. I believe so.
There's a lot of Gracie quotes. I just stick away from that. A lot of Gracie quotes. But thank you for coming on, Dan. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming for episode 50. Thanks you for everybody. I think 50 is a huge milestone. Thanks everybody that's been supporting Pours with Patriots here. I think next month we officially become 2 years, which is a huge thing. I didn't put it up here, but if you haven't seen on social media, I got to promote something real quick. We have the fundraiser coming up May 18th, cornhole tournament at Zaftig from 12 to 9 p.m. We've got 28 slots left to play cornhole. We got big money prizes for the winners. Most importantly, we're going to have great craft beer. We're going to have a live band, some food trucks, gelato, fellowship. So we'll be posting stuff. I'll be hitting you up. You're going to see a lot of videos from me about that. Sorry, but we got to do this. And again, I want to thank you for coming on. Most importantly, happy birthday tomorrow.
You.
We can keep drinking for another 3 hours to celebrate. You got a DD here, but thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you in a couple weeks.